Top 5 red pills for Japanese immersion. Red pill number 1. Recently, the so-called immersion method for learning Japanese has spread sort of like a meme. Calling it a word like immersion in the first place paints a picture like it's a method of sorts. But the thing is that it's just the only way you can possibly learn. And so people are taking advantage of calling it this immersion method to make a ton of nonsense about it on YouTube. And the most detrimental thing about this nonsense they're making is that they are using it to promote mediocrity.
For the past 6 months, I've been learning Japanese, and while I wish I could give you a rundown on the exact steps to success or wow you with my incredible native-like Japanese, I've instead done some regrettable things like working at my job and going to school or hanging out with friends, and overall just ruining my 30-day road to true fluency. In all honesty though, my journey hasn't been the most efficient, but I have definitely improved.
It's going entirely against the spirit of AJAT and everything CAT stood for, entirely against mediocrity, entirely against accepting anything less than we are here to become native level. And this goes hand in hand with aggression against the main reason people should even be learning Japanese in the first place, which is to become more based and otaku. So these people are just not going to learn. These people, follow my immersion journey. They're not going to make it. They might look like they're getting somewhere, but they are so far from the actual end goal, which should be to be able to be just like a native. They're not going to make it. They're going to fall off. I've seen it 100 times. Red pill number 2. Japanese ultimately is actually extremely easy. It's not like, say, learning an artistic skill or something. The time required is very, very large, but it is not some hard task that asks you to fundamentally look at yourself in some deep way and go through brutal challenges or anything. It's just the same thing every day. There's no difference. It's just words and getting used to sentences and grammar and ways of speaking. There is no point where it magically gets meaningfully more hooking for you than another part past the very initial zone. In fact, the early portion was some of the most fun for me. So at the end of the day, you're really just consuming media that you should enjoy. If that's not enough for you, if there's something else that you're holding out for, if there's some sort of ease that you are holding your breath to experience, it's just not going to come. If you can't put up with what it's like in the early days indefinitely, you're not going to stick around for the later days. And I see this. I see people who fall off even after getting, even close to N1. They just fall off. Or they just rest and they just coast and they don't get very good. It happens. So if you have to force yourself, you need to stop and either rethink why you're doing Japanese in the first place and probably quit, or just become more based in otaku. Red pill number 3. Anki is necessary, so just do it. Don't ask questions. Don't figure out the perfect configuration, weird science, bullshit, all that stuff. Just do it every day. It doesn't matter. The core decks are fine, but there's no reason you can't just start immediately with mining stuff, especially because when you mine stuff, you get to throw screenshots and example sentences and stuff in there from actually normal media, so it's much more relevant. If you need the tutorial, if you're not up on mining, just check the animecards.site for how to mine. Memorizing words is literally just the majority of learning Japanese at the end of the day. So what that means is for the majority of your learning period, you're just worried about how many words you know. It's really only in the earlier stages where you're even trying to just piece grammar together, that it's a little more complicated. And then the much later stages where you're trying to actually output like a native, that now you're kind of looking at everything on a little bit of a deeper level. But in general, it still is true at all times. Vocab is number one by far. So don't worry about reading the definitions in Japanese. That will just naturally come. I mean, periodically check if you can easily read the definitions, and if you can, definitely do that. Red pill number 4. If you're not reading Vinnies, you're not going to make it. Simple as. There is no level where you should start doing this. This just needs to happen from the start. And really importantly, do not ask which ones are interesting. If it looks interesting, it's probably interesting. And if it's not, just switch to another one. If that one's not interesting, switch to another one. If this keeps happening, there is very likely a problem with you and not the Vinnies. So, no, that's a moment to ask yourself what is wrong with you, and probably quit Japanese. Use a text hooker until you don't need one. There is basically no Vinny in existence that, even at a pretty much beginner level, that you can't follow at least the gist of, at least get like the main plot beats and character beats and stuff, if you have a text hooker. So do that. Especially, if you're sucking down Anki cards every day, it should be no problem. So, again, no excuse. Now, do not panic about grammar or anything when reading. If you're at a point where you don't even know what grammar concepts to even look up that you're missing, just keep reading, just keep watching anime. If you do know, nothing beats the Itazura Neko site, the grammar guide. I forgot the abbreviation is. I think it's DO something. The Dictionary of Japanese Grammar, DOGJ, JG. Be prepared to learn about the same grammatical pattern multiple times, because they are multifaceted. And this is true for individual words as well. They are very multifaceted. Some words you'll have to see in many, many contexts, because they have like 7 or 8 different possible connotations, main connotations, stuff like that. But do not overindulge in grammar and learning about anything about Japanese on an abstract level. Figure out what the sentence you're reading means, move on. Because otherwise you are just wasting the XP, because you are not effectively learning from anything other than just a stream of exposure to the Japanese language in its natural state. So, red pill number 5. How much should you be immersing? Literally constantly. Only if there is something truly physically stopping you, like certain types of waging, you should at least have Japanese audio playing at all times. Can be anything, anime, news, VTubers, whatever. Just have it be a constant stream of Japanese audio, because otherwise you are just detached from Japanese. And what the audio does is a constant reminder, is a constant Japanese mode configurer for your brain. It constantly keeps you in touch, and it will make it very smooth to then go into reading or paying attention, whatever, at any time. So, do not use retarded spreadsheets or record your hours in any way other than just using the Anki heat map, because it will literally, without fail, cause you to overestimate yourself. And the reason is because you cannot possibly fathom how many hours it actually takes to get where you should get, which again should be no less than a level where you can speak and write like even like a novel, like a native. That is nothing less than that has meaning, other than like very crude survival, like tourist purposes or whatever. It's like if you want anything interesting out of Japanese, nothing short of that level is acceptable. If you are recording your hours, you are probably doing it for some weird bragging rights, like self-assurance, weird, just like incel-y shit. Don't do that. Just understand that it's going to take a long time, and just keep rolling and enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy it, because it's not hard. So if there's one word more than any other in Japanese you should learn, it's Jikomanzoku. And everyone who is learning it should ask very carefully if that is them.
Hey homies, how's it going? It's Tokuyu here, and we're doing our first video in Japan! Actually, I made